Hey guys, Sarah here. So today I'm going to be doing a highly requested video on Reptilinks, going over the details of what they are and why I use them, what the benefits are, and just like where you can get them. I actually am on their website right now ordering for myself, which is why I thought I would make this video. And if you want to sort of follow along or check Reptilinks out, go to my link down in the description below, and you can also get $5 off when you check out. I have been using Reptilinks pretty much since I knew they were a thing like 5 years ago. I use them for all different ages of corn snakes, especially ones that need a little bit of a boost. So anytime I bring in a rescue that hasn't been fed very well, the Reptilinks are really great at getting them to gain their weight back. Anytime that I have a female who's breeding and she needs a little bit extra boost, or if she's already laid eggs and I'd like her to gain some weight back, I definitely go to the Reptilinks because they are just so much better. And of course, you don't have to be a breeder to want to use Reptilinks. You don't have to be someone who's producing baby corn snakes to want to use them. If you just want your snake or your lizard to just be healthier and just have everything that they need, have better skin and scales, it can help all across the board. A lot of hognose breeders really like them as well because hognose really like frog. And there are also frog links in here. So I'm just going to go over all the different types of links and what I personally buy for the corn snakes, since this is really a corn snake based channel. But I do want to just sort of let you guys know what all there is out there, like what your options are. Because I know that a lot of you probably do have other types of snakes. You probably have types of lizards, and a lot of people who have tegus really like these. If you have bearded dragons, you can get these. Pretty much any kind of reptile can get these, and even though this isn't something that's like typical or even possibly recommended by some people, I have a cat that's a Savannah, and he's part African serval. He needs to be on a partially raw diet, and he also has really bad teeth, so it's hard for him to chew stuff. So it's hard for him to chew up like a chick or a mouse. And so I personally like to take these Reptilinks, and sometimes I'll cut them open and I let him eat those because it is an all-natural diet for him as being part wildcat that he can actually chew. We're working on getting his teeth fixed. Don't worry too much about him. He's getting really old. He's a happy old cat, so don't worry about him. He's spoiled. But this is just really good for a lot of different kinds of animals. So I'm just gonna go over, like I said, what I use for the corn snakes and what other options that they have on their website. So to start off, I want to start with the micro and mini links. So this here is a micro link. I'm going to try to cover my face up so it focuses for you. That's about the size of an extra small pinky mouse, if you can see that. I like to get the frog links for the micro, and they also have a mini size of these. These are whole ground prey in a casing. So that's what all of the Reptilinks are. They're whole ground prey that include the feathers and the bone and the fur and whatever else would be in there. So pretty much everything that your snake is going to be eating in the wild, everything that your snake actually needs in their diet, they need the feathers and the fur because that's how they get their fiber. They need everything. They need the skin. They need the organs because those have all the nutrients that they need. You can't just go buy a random sausage somewhere and feed that to your snake. These are actually like whole ground prey in a casing, a collagen casing. Collagen usually comes from the soft tissues and or bones of, in this case, beef. But it doesn't really matter where it comes from. I take collagen on a daily basis for my own skin and hair and nails. And I usually get fish collagen, but that's just my own personal preference for myself. And obviously, I'm not going to do the same thing for my snakes, but just letting you know, this collagen casing is relatively natural, and it's the kind of stuff that your animals are going to be eating anyway. The next size up that they have are these mini links. And I usually use these for snakes that need like fuzzy mice or large pinkies. Sometimes I have to feed 2 of them to a snake that needs fuzzies, but they just really like help the babies grow so fast because, and this is like the biggest reason to use them in my opinion, because they are ground up, because it's whole ground prey, the snake's body and the animal that's eating it, it's more accessible to their digestive system. And their digestive system doesn't have to work as hard to digest it. And since it's ground up, there's more surface area and it's more accessible to the body. So the the animal can get more out of it. Like, they get more out of the same amount of food. And because they get more out of the same amount of food, they either, like I said, a female can bounce back from breeding faster, or their scales are going to be more healthy, or they're going to grow a little better. Just in general, like, there's a lot of benefits to it. There's actually been multiple different studies among breeders of corn snakes who would cut the skin of the rodents that they were feeding to their snakes. And of course, these were frozen thawed, so obviously we're not just cutting up random live rodents, don't worry. But they would take frozen rodents and they would make cuts in the skin, and then they would feed those to their snakes, and then they would also do that. They would not do that for other snakes, just to see the difference in the growth, if there was any. And the snakes that ate the pinkies and the mice that had cuts in the skin grew a lot faster, like by far. And it was definitely noticeable. And so this is the same concept. It's easier for the animals to digest these because of the more surface area. It's easy for the bodily fluids to like get in there and to digest everything quickly. And this is just the same thing, just tenfold. It's 10 times better even than just cutting the skin of a pinky mouse or a fuzzy mouse. So that's sort of the biggest reason for me that I like to use them, is because it really helps to get babies to grow, and it really helps to get females that have laid eggs or getting ready to lay eggs with the calcium that they need and everything else. I don't actually have any of the next size up link that I usually use. So you saw the mini and the micro. I'm just going to go over, I'm on their website right now, of the different mini and micro links that they have for those who are curious. They have frog, rabbit, quail, iguana, and a mix of rabbit and fruits and veggies. So I know that as a corn snake owner, a lot of people aren't probably going to want to use the fruits and veggies one, but a lot of lizards will need this. So you could get if you have a bearded dragon, that would be good for a bearded dragon, or tegus, stuff like that. Things that are going to be eating meat and fruits and veggies. That's what those are going to be good for. And as far as what I would recommend for corn snakes in these mini and micros, I'm probably going to go with the frog. The reason for this is baby corn snakes in the wild are not probably going to be eating anything with fur or feathers. The baby corn snakes are going to be eating things like other lizards or baby mice, stuff like that, things that don't have fur. I personally would think that it's better for a baby corn snake, at least ones that are on like this size, the micro link, to not be eating things with fur just yet. You could go ahead and move up to maybe quail or rabbit once they get up to the slightly larger size. Like once a snake would be getting up to eating a fuzzy mouse, like something that does have fur, then you could maybe get something that has some fur in it. But just to start out, I think it's better for like tiny baby corn snakes to not be getting all that fur, because they just wouldn't normally be eating that in the wild. The next size up that they have is the 8 to 12 gram, I believe, and that's what I normally get for my corn snakes. The 8 to 12 gram is really good for like your yearlings and your subadults, just to kind of, it's just a good, like, I don't want to say daily meal, because you're not going to be feeding your corn snakes daily, but it's just a really good size for the majority of corn snakes. The majority of owners, I feel like if you have a corn snake, that's going to be the biggest size you ever really need. I did, however, get the size up from that, which is the 16 to 20, and that's going to be this one here. See if you can see that. So this is actually a 17 gram link. I weighed it myself just to see. And I believe that this is the quail, because the quail is the most common for me to get. I get quail for all of my adults. You might be wondering, well, if you feed your snakes mice, then why don't they have like a mouse blend, or like why don't they have a mouse one or a rat one? And that's because honestly, mice and rats just don't have that much in them. They're not that great. That's what you would be feeding, they might be eating in the wild, sure. But rats are actually relatively fatty, and they do have more protein for sure, but they do have so much fat that it's not super great for your snake all the time, especially a corn snake. And the mice just don't have enough in them to be worth it. If you grind up a mouse, it's 90% fur and skin. It's just not a whole lot to a mouse. So when you go into the Reptilinks website and you go to the main shop where you're looking at the cased prey, you're going to see a lot of, I'm looking in here, There's iguana again, there's chicken, rabbit, there's quail. You can get a combination of like chicken and rabbit, rabbit and quail. Insects, so if you have, like I said, a bearded dragon that might eat insects and or meat, you can get the insect blend, or you can get a mix of insect and rabbit. There's also quail with fruits and veggies, or just fruits and veggies, or just quail with fruit, or quail with veggies. Like, you can get all these different combinations in here. And there's also an option in here if you wanted to add quail eggs. So in a lot of these, you can click on them and there's a mix a dozen quail eggs in option if you want to just add a little extra. Eggs are actually incredibly good for snakes once in a while. They have just very different nutrients that are really accessible to the snake's body because it's a liquid. It's going to be easier to digest. And if you have a snake that needs that extra boost because they're maybe emaciated, if you have a rescue, something like that, that extra fat in the yolk and stuff is really going to be good for them. It's a slightly different fat than what you're going to get like in rats. Rats are just... There's a difference between meat fat and egg fat is not going to be quite as bad for your animal as like meat fat is. So those are sort of the options. There's the mega blend where you can get a blend of all these different meats if you want. But since we're talking about corn snakes, I would recommend the quail above anything. That's going to be the closest to what they're going to eat in the wild, is small birds. You could go with chicken also, but my snakes I just found didn't take to the chicken as easily. I tried chicken, I tried rabbit, and I tried quail, and by far my snakes love the quail the most. It was easiest to get them to switch over to the quail, and they just seem to thrive better on the quail than they do on like the rabbit. The chicken is okay. If you can get chicken, that's also a good one. Like I said, I just prefer the quail. The quail is a little bit more expensive. The chicken's going to be $30 for a pack, where the quail is going to be closer to $35. That's actually $29.99 versus $34.99. But it's worth it to me to spend the extra $5 and get something that I know my snakes already thrive on. And as far as corn snakes go, it's perfectly fine to feed them a bird diet. A lot of people think that you have to feed them a rodent diet, and I'm here to tell you that you do not have to feed them a rodent diet. If you live on a farm and you hatch, baby like quail, or you hatch baby chickens, and you'd rather feed your corn snakes chickens, that's fine. They will eat chickens, and it's healthy for them. I prefer the ground version of any kind of bird, just because like I have found that when I'd feed just like whole chicks, sometimes the snakes will like poop out whole feet, or the beaks make me really uncomfortable when the snake is swallowing the beak and I can just see the beak like scraping the inside of their throat. I would much rather have just ground quail or ground chicken in a casing that I know is not going to hurt them. So again, I'm going to show these to you. They are really smooth, and I really like them. And if you have any snakes, like baby snakes that you have to force feed, the microlinks are also pretty good for those. I'll go through a video in the future if I have to force feed any of those, but there's just so many different benefits to like using these links over regular rodents and stuff. And if you're ordering from the Reptilinks site and you know that you have snakes that are not going to eat links, but you don't want to pay for shipping twice by buying some links for some animals and not links for other animals, they also have a section in here for uncased prey. Right now they only have baby quail and baby chickens available. And again, if you have a corn snake, or most other snakes even, if you have snakes and you're kind of wanting mice but you're not really sure, quail is going to be perfect for a corn snake. Baby quail are a really good size for like a subadult, and then baby chickens are going to be a really, really good size for a large adult corn snake. So if you have, or even if you have like a big rat snake or a small boa, chickens are going to be fine for them. I was feeding my boas chickens for a while because they're relatively cheap meat, and sometimes my boas didn't really want to eat links, and that's okay. Some snakes aren't going to take to it as easily. I've heard that ball pythons are kind of finicky with that, but if you have a hognose, I've heard that hognose take to them really, really well. Most other pythons that I've had have taken to them really well. I used to have not children's pythons, spotted pythons. I used to have spotted pythons. I wanted children's pythons. That's why children's pythons came into my head, but I ended up with spotted pythons instead. My spotted pythons just went crazy for lynx. They loved them so much. I had house snakes. The house snakes absolutely loved lynx. I had bull and gopher snakes. They absolutely loved the lynx. I've had so many different types of like different sizes of snakes. I got my boa constrictors to eat lynx. I've gotten so many different species of snakes to eat lynx, and sometimes they just take to it no problem. I'm actually starting a group of baby corn snakes on lynx here pretty soon, which is another reason that I'm ordering right now, is because I want to get some more of the frog lynx. I'm almost out of those also. So I hope that sort of answered some of your questions. Like I said, use my link down below and you can get some money off of an order, and just check them out. You know, like, I know that the quail and the chicks that they have are super, super high quality, and if they ever do get their mice and rats in again, they were doing ASFs also, African soft furs. So if they decide to ever get back into that again, which they've indicated that they might, but it might be a little while, then those will also be an option on the website as well. But remember, your snake does not have to have mice and rats. Most likely. Now, I know that there's going to be picky snakes out there once in a while. There just is. Like, I've had snakes that they would only eat white mice. They wouldn't even eat like a gray mouse or a black mouse. They would only eat white mice. And that's really annoying, and that happens, I understand. But for the majority of you, your snake is going to eat quail, especially if you have corn snakes. Corn snakes love quail. So if you want to order from the Reptilinks website and you want to get something for your snakes that probably aren't going to take to lynx very well, you can order quail from this website, and your snake, trust me, will take to it just fine. There's also some options for picky feeders on here, or ones that you're trying to transition over. They have like anole juice and gecko juice and stuff like that, which is essentially the bodily fluids of geckos and anoles to scent the lynx with. And that way you can get your snakes to sort of be more attracted to the idea of eating the lynx if they're not taking to them right away. I have the anole juice, and it seems to work pretty well. I have been using it with baby snakes and even some adults. Corn snakes love to eat anoles, and they love to eat geckos. So if you are curious about it and you're not really sure if it's going to work, or if you've bought Reptilinks in the past and it hasn't worked for your corn snake yet, definitely try the juices. The juices really seem to work. They really help. Okay, I'm going to end this video now, guys. Like I said, check out the link down below and you can get some money off of an order. And I really hope that I hope this answered some of your questions about like why they work, why I personally like to use them as a breeder. And if you want, you can also check out the link side on Facebook. It's a group where a lot of people share their photos of people or of their animals eating snakes. I know there's a lot of tegu people in there. There's a lot of hognose people in there. There's a lot of like python people in there. There's just a whole lot of different people in there, and they all just are there because they love the benefits that their snakes get from these Reptilinks, and they just are there to like share that with everybody. And I've posted in there many times myself as well. So sorry that this video was so long, but I really hope that you learned something. If there's anything like this, a product that you'd like me to review or anything, let me know in the comments down below and I'll try to get to that. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you in the next video.